Hi, everyone. Welcome to From the Tap, water news, views, and brews brought to you by Friends at Camstroke. And today we're doing something a little bit different. Normally, Travis Smith and myself, we share a beer or two during these shows or these episodes. But today I have Kristian Rokkjaer, who is our Vice President of Marketing in from Denmark. And he's a little bit jet lagged. So we went to the other breweries. So just like no water, no beer, or no water, no craft beer, we have no water, no coffee. So Kristian and I have some coffee today to get him through the remaining part of the day. And then he and I are going to enjoy a different type of brew later tonight at dinner. So Kristian, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Honored to be here on this very famous show.
Yeah, it's really hard to get people on here because we have a backlog. So we moved you to the front of the line because we were in town.
Yes.
And I am looking for potentially another co-host because my co-host didn't actually show up today, but you're here. So, maybe we can, do something.
There's a job opportunity here.
Potentially. I mean, we do have to fix your hair a little bit because you already have more hair than I have. And this is a no hair and makeup show here, but we could deal with it right now.
I just started all natural.
So usually we start by just talking about the beer that we have. So maybe we could do a little thing on, what type of coffee did you order to drink for our little show here today?
I'm having a regular cup of coffee. It's from Colombia, I think. Northern part. Halfway up the mountain. Yeah. That's excellent. Yeah, give the most moisture to the bees.
Yeah, that is a very good nasal, very good senses you have there. I myself ordered a cortado, which is what I just kind of discovered maybe a couple of weeks ago, which is 3 shots of espresso and then a little bit of milk in there just to kind of smooth it out a little bit. So I love this because it gives me everything I need and nothing that I don't. So all the caffeine that's there and nice flavor. And I believe the espresso shot here is like a blonde. So it's a little bit of a sweeter espresso as opposed to a barrel.
You don't know which country the beans are from?
I don't. I'm not as good as you. Now, if it was a beer, I could tell you all sorts of different things about the hops and the yeast that was used, but this is coffee and I'm not as experienced.
I'll test you later on that. We are like 5 million people in Denmark, and there is actually 3,000 utilities. So there's a lot of small local utilities with just a few hundred metering points. So that's at least one difference. But I also noticed another difference because when I went here on this trip in California, I went here with some Danish utilities that were so nice to go there. And we had meetings with utilities here, and one of the themes were that the Danish utilities presented how they manage different things. And one of the things we always boast a little bit about and is proud about in Denmark is the low water loss levels we have, average around 7% of non-mineral water. And when the utilities, Danish utilities presented that, it was in California, right? They presented that they were those low water levels. The utilities from California was asking, well, that sounds really great. What do you do when you, with the high pressure and the pipes, when you have to pump the water up into the mountains? And we were like, oh, we don't have mountains. So that kind of makes it a bit easier. And we also then they asked like, okay, what about when you have like earthquakes and you have your main place? And well, we don't have earthquakes anyway. So there is some. Sometimes I think you maybe also had a little bit easier in Denmark in the water supply than you guys have in some of the states at least.
Yeah, it's those are like the interesting parts. We obviously would get that from even the different regions here in the US, but I think there's so many similar problems that these water utilities just globally have. And there's so many nuances to the region in the area. And I always said that some of that's so funny. I did get a chance to do one of those kind of water technology alliance, but I went the opposite direction. We took some California and Texas utilities to a few different Denmark water utilities and Denmark other vendors like ourselves and Rumfos. And some of the things that we talked about were water treatment. And they took us through their water treatment and how they treat the water before they pump it out to the customers. And you probably know very little water treatment, very little chemicals, if any, that go into the water in Denmark. And that was just the folks from the U.S. utilities were astounded by that. Denmark as a country that's been using, ultrasonic or very accurate meters for a long period of time, a majority of the meters here for a number of years have been mechanical. So the accuracy deteriorates over time. Yeah,
it does. And I think, but in Denmark, there's also, and I know some states here also have legislation on the water loss levels you're allowed to have. And I think it's 25 years ago that they started on legislation on that in Denmark. And that meant that utilities had to innovate, had to figure out how can we bring these water levels or number your water levels down. And that's why we've been experimenting with the pressure management and different kind of tools. And that's also why I think the innovation around our ALD solution came together with the Danish utility, where we came up with that idea to use the ultrasonic to
be able to sample and understand the acoustics that are happening.
Exactly.
And I think that California, from one particular state, is also going through a lot of regulatory change right now around lowering water loss. Some of it is even lowering water production, right? And pushing more conservation into into the citizens. So it's really important to be able for them to now be able to install intelligent, smart water metering systems so they can provide that information back for the customers, so they could help manage their water use. So they know how their behavior affects, the amount of water that they're using, because they're being asked to use less because of drought and water.
Then you have to give people the insights to understand the consumption and act upon it, or else it's really difficult to do. But another difference I've seen is that you have states where purple water and reused water are becoming more. Is that growing in the?
It is. I think it depends on the area. So we call it reclaimed water, which is really recycled water. A lot of it's used for, say, irrigation, sometimes plumbing, for toilets and other things like that. There's a bunch of different ways you can use that. And you definitely see that in states like Texas and Florida, Arizona, Utah, California. They're while they have to treat the water, put it back into the water systems, they're capturing that and using it for irrigation and public use.
And then there's a separate piping system for that.
They basically all started the piping systems from the treatment plants, and they're slowly expanding them as most people want it. Right? So it's a great use of water for irrigation and in areas that have, water scarcity.
I think I've seen one pilot project or something like that in Denmark, but it's probably something you will also be seeing more.